the Presidio and the Golden Gate area. These folks have tens of millions of visitors a year, the kind of people that President Trump's talking about that come from around the country and around the world to see our sacred and learn about our history and our sacred monuments. They've been doing a fantastic job, but they are so pleased, the rank and file, that President Trump is now allowing them to enforce the law. As those of you that live in the city may know, that the circles and the triangle parks that are spread throughout D.C. are actually federal park property. So the U.S. Park Police also have responsibility for that. These became littered with homeless camps under the Biden administration. All of you saw that. Since President Trump's executive order on March 27th, making D.C. safe and beautiful again, the U.S. Park Police have removed over 70 homeless camps. And President Trump also talked about beautification. They're stopping and enforcing the laws against graffiti on our monuments. They've removed over 80 specific attacks against our history with graffiti on our monuments. So they continue to do a great job, whether it's in their vehicles, on foot, or on the mounted police that you see around the National Mall. And President Trump, they thank you. The rank and file is so happy to be enforcing the law again. Thank you for your leadership, and they're excited about the announcement you're making today.
Thank you. Very good. Great job you're doing. Thank you very much. Pete, could you say something about the military, if you would?
Well, Mr. President, it's an honor to be here. And at your direction this morning, we've mobilized the D.C. National Guard. It'll be operationalized by the Secretary of the Army, Dan Driscoll, through the D.C. Guard. You will see them flowing into the streets of Washington in the coming week. At your direction as well, sir, there are other units we are prepared to bring in. Other National Guard units, other specialized units. They will be strong, they will be tough, and they will stand with their law enforcement partners. This is nothing new for DOD. As the President noted, at the border, we've got 10,000 troops down there who've been operating in defense cooperation areas, defense zones, where there's zero illegal crossings because of troops on strikers scanning the border. We've been protecting other people's borders for 20 years. It's about time we protect our own, and we're working with ICE and CBP. In Los Angeles, we did the same thing. Working with the California National Guard, working with ICE officers. ICE officers deserve to do their job and not be attacked. We will work alongside all D.C. police and federal law enforcement to ensure this city is safe, this city is beautiful. And as I always say about President Trump to the troops, he has their back. And my message to the National Guard and federal law enforcement in Washington is, we have your back as well. Be tough, be strong, we're right behind you. Thank you, Mr. President.
I'm going to ask Pam, because she's now, as you heard me say, she's really in charge of a lot of what we're talking about. She's done an incredible job. People are going to start to see the fruits of her labor. And Pam, maybe you could say a few words about what we're talking about here.
Sure, President. Let me be crystal clear. Crime in D.C. is ending, and ending today. We are going to use every power we have to fight criminals here. President, thank you for caring about our capital. Families come here every summer. Our museums are free. We have the National Zoo. We have the National Gallery. DC should be a place where everyone can come and feel safe. Behind me and to my side, we have some of the best career law enforcement and prosecutors in the country who are ready to take this on. As the President said, Terry Cole is going to be supervising the Metro Police Department. Gadi Serralta, our U.S. Marshal, is going to be supervising command and control, the entire operation. Our Deputy Attorney General, Todd Blanche, and I will be working with them closely, along with our great FBI Director, Kash Patel. Kash is going to talk to you in a minute about what we did in Virginia recently with Governor Youngkin. Many of you covered that, and it was tremendously successful. Not only that, our secret weapon here in D.C. is U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro, one of the toughest prosecutors and a former judge, and she is going to be talking about juvenile crime, how it's out of control here, and what she's going to do to fight back. No more crime rampant in our beautiful capital. No more teenage girls beating a disabled man to death. No more of that. No more drive-bys. We're going to do everything we can. And working with the ATF Director Driscoll and Commander of the Army, We're going to all work together. That's what we all do in this room. We work together, we fight. Do not underestimate one person in this room. We're going to make DC beautiful. We're going to make DC safe again. One other thing, just at the wharf a few days ago, the area of the wharf, Terry Cole reached out to me, not even nightfall, on the weekend, where so many families in tourists go. A guy's overdosing from fentanyl on a park bench. In the middle of families around, they administer Narcan and saved his life. No more of that. The President of the United States is going to clean up DC, and we're going to be there to help him, and we're going to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Pam. Cash, talk about Northern Virginia, if you will. Northern Virginia, we had a big success.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General Bondi, for your leadership, Deputy Attorney General, and the rest of our interagency partners. Mr. President, the following is what happens when you let good cops be cops, and I just want to highlight that before I get into Northern Virginia. This year alone, under President Trump's administration, we've had over 4,000 child victims identified and found. That's a 33% increase from the same time period last year. 33% increase. We've had a seizure of 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl up to this date. That is a 25% increase since the same time period last year. And just to put it in perspective, 1,500 kilograms of fentanyl is enough to kill 115 million Americans. 115 million Americans. Cops are getting after it. The FBI has arrested 19,000 people this year alone. Thanks to President Trump's administrations, that's double than where we were this time last year. And we have also arrested 1,600 people who have committed violent acts against children. 270 of them are human traffickers of children. Mr. President, this is what happens when you have great leadership at the Attorney General with Pam Bondi, your administration's priority of protecting the homeland and protecting American citizens and protecting our children, and the murder rates are plummeting. We are now able to report that the murder rate is on track to be the lowest in U.S. history, in modern recorded U.S. history, thanks to this team behind me and President Trump's priorities. And how do we do it? And what are we going to bring to D.C.? What we did in Northern Virginia, thanks to Terry Cole and Governor Youngkin and the team, we stood up a task force out in my Northern Virginia field office, and we said, let's let good cops be cops, let's get them the intelligence and what they need, and let's get the red tape out of their way, and let's get DOJ partnered up with us to bring great prosecutions, and that's exactly what we did. In 1 month, we arrested 545 violent felons. 545 in the state of Virginia, thanks to Governor Youngkin's partnership. And that simplicity in law enforcement is what's coming to Washington, D.C. When you let good cops be cops, when you give them the intel they need, when you work with our Homeland Security Task Force, when you work with Terry and Gaddy and I go way back to Miami, these guys are great leaders of the respective departments and law enforcement capacities. And when you have the DOJ and President Trump driving behind this mission, we are going to clean up Washington, D.C., and we're going to do it the right way, the lawful way, and we're going to make sure Washington, D.C. is safe again. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Attorney General.
Thank you very much. Good job. Thank you, Cash. So the process begins right now. It actually started over the weekend, and we confronted a lot of very bad people. But it's going to be something that will be pretty amazing to you as you watch it. And I think most of you say it's a beautiful thing to do it right. We're going to be removing homeless encampments from all over our parks, our beautiful, beautiful parks, which now a lot of people can't walk on. They're very dirty, we got a lot of problems. But we've already started that. We're moving the encampments away, trying to take care of people. Some of those people, we don't know how they even got there. Some of those people are from different countries, different parts of the world. Nobody knows who they are. They have no idea, but they're there. We're getting rid of the people from underpasses and public spaces from all over the city. There are many places that they can go, and we're going to help them as much as you can help. But they'll not be allowed to turn our capital into a wasteland for the world to see. The Metropolitan Police Department and the federal authorities will be supported in the effort.
We don't do standing still. We're trail makers, groundbreakers, like you. Yes, you. On that journey, going places, doing your thing. Big moves, small moves. But wherever you're headed, Whatever you're after, we're by your side every step of the way, meeting you wherever you are. Through every turn, every twist, every leap towards your goal. Together, we can go so much further. For everyone in BC, for every journey, this is Beam.
Smart, going to make it beautiful, so beautiful. Some of the buildings, we're going to add to it. You see what we've done at the White House. White House is a whole different building. I do that in my part-time because it's a natural instinct as a real estate person. I was very good at that, and I was very good at fixing things up. I like fixing things up. You see what's happening. The marble floors are being reinstalled, renovated, fixed. The whole place is becoming very beautiful. We're going to be adding a magnificent ballroom, most beautiful ballroom, I think, anywhere. We need it. I would have certainly loved to have had it today. I think we would have filled it up. A lot of you are standing outside, can't get in this room. I've never seen the room like this, which tells me that you want to talk about, I mean, this was a D.C. news conference. It tells me that you want to talk about crime in D.C. and beautification of D.C., but I'm going to put that's easy. And I think, frankly, fixing the crime with the pros, fixing the crime is easy, too. A person who I've known for a long time, and she's been incredible. She was a fantastic, one of the best ever district attorneys in New York. She was in Westchester, and she became a judge, very successful judge. And then she went into showbiz because she was such a good DA and such a good judge, tough judge, but fair, always fair. Nobody ever complained about that, but she was tough. And because of that and her reputation, she went into showbiz. So a lot of people don't, they think of Jeanine as showbiz. Actually, showbiz was not her thing. And she did great. She was on, along with a couple of other of my friends, on the #1 show. And she did great, but this is what she loves doing. This is really her baby. What she's going to do is going to be incredible. And I'd like to speak for just a few seconds on what she has in mind, what she wants to do. We're going to be appointing some judges. We have some open spots, and we're going to take people, because the judges are letting killers out. They're just saying, go, that's okay, don't worry about it. So we're putting some Pam recommended, Todd recommended, some judges that are great. Jeanine recommended. Jeanine's given me 3 great candidates already. We have about 10 open spots, and we can probably create some more. We need them. Jeanine, would you say a few words, please?
Thank you very much, Mr. President, and thank you, Madam Attorney General, and to all my partners here. We all want the same thing. We all want a safe city. We want a safe capital. We want to be able to bring our families here. We want to be able to come and enjoy the history that makes this place great. And unfortunately, we are not in that position right now. And Mr. President, I want to thank you for taking the step that we need right now to make criminals understand that they are not going to get away with it anymore. And I'm not going to stand here and go over and over the cases. But what I can tell you is this. I see too much violent crime being committed by young punks who think that they can get together in gangs and crews and beat the hell out of you or anyone else. They don't care where they are. They can be in DuPont Circle, but they know that we can't touch them. Why? Because the laws are weak. I can't touch you if you're 14, 15, 16, 17 years old and you have a gun. I convict someone of shooting another person with an illegal gun on a public bus in the chest, intent to kill. I convict him. And you know what the judge gives him? Probation. Says you should go to college. We need to go after the D.C. Council and their absurd laws. We need to get rid of this concept of, no cash bail. We need to recognize that the people who matter are the law-abiding citizens, and it starts today. But it's not going to end today, because the president is going to do everything we need to do to make sure that these emboldened criminals understand we see you, we're watching you, and we're going to change the law to catch you. And my final note is this. These kids understand that the jurisdiction is through the State Attorney General, Brian Schwab. I did a poster of the young man from Doge who was beaten bloody with a severe concussion, a broken nose. And then I did a poster of what happens to those kids, because I can't arrest them, I can't prosecute them. They go to family court and they get to do yoga and arts and crafts. Enough. It changes today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome.
Great job. Thank you. If I could, I just signed some executive orders. I'd like to have Will please come up and we'll let the people know what we signed. Do you want to put them down?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
A short while ago in the Oval Office, President Trump signed 2 crucial executive actions to deal with the emergency crime conditions we currently face in the District of Columbia. The first of these was an executive order, as President Trump said before, invoking his powers under Section 40 of the Home Rule Act to take federal control of the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department. Along with that executive order, President Trump signed the statutorily required notification letters to Mayor Bowser and to the relevant House and Senate committee leaders. The second major executive action that President Trump signed was a presidential memorandum directing the Secretary of Defense to utilize the National Guard to address the conditions we see on our streets here in D.C. It also authorized the Secretary of Defense to work with state governors to utilize their National Guard units if necessary as well. These are bold, decisive steps intended to combat the out-of-control crime conditions we've seen on D.C.'s streets for far too long. And I, for one, am deeply proud to be part of an administration that's finally coming to terms with these issues, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Thank you. So, just to conclude, Washington, D.C. should be one of the safest, cleanest, most beautiful places anywhere in the world. It was years ago. We had one problem that was a pretty big problem. The radical left got out of control and they started trying to rip down statues. And I said, let's go pass a law real fast. We're going to do it real fast, but we were blocked by the Democrats who do not want safety. Nobody gets it. I don't get it. They don't get it because they can't get votes. I don't know how they can win an election with this, but they don't want safety. And I found an old statute, very old, early 1900s, that said if you so much as touch or even think about destroying a statue or a monument in Washington, D.C., you go to jail for 10 years with no probation, no anything. In other words, slightly different than we have today. Today we have cashless bail. There you get jailed 10 years. No curtailed sentence, 10 years. And we took it out. Nobody used it. It was never used because, you know, it's harsh. And you remember they started to rip down the statue of Abraham Lincoln. I said, that's a tough one to rip down. He was pretty good, Pam. I think he was pretty good. When the ropes started going around Abraham Lincoln to pull him down, Andrew Jackson, others, and they were heading to the Jefferson Memorial, Thomas Jefferson. They're going to do a big number there. I said, it's time. And I signed that statute immediately. We had it updated. We made it use the same language, all passed by Congress. And I announced it's 10 years in jail, no probation, no anything, 10 years, no curtail sentence if you touch, so much as touch a statue in Washington, D.C. And it was an amazing sight, beautiful sight. Everybody just left. The ropes were hanging around Andrew Jackson, and there were 2 ropes around Abraham Lincoln. They left the rope, but everybody just left. And that was the last problem we ever had. You know, that was the last problem that we ever had with the statues. They were going wild, and somebody came to me and said, sir, in 1910, I don't want to give you an exact because you'll say, Donald Trump gave us wrong dates around like early on. You know, if I'm slightly off, they make you sound a little bad. So I won't put myself in that position. I won't put you in that position because I think everybody agrees with what we're doing today. But when I signed that thing, it was like a miracle. Everybody left. They were gone. They were starting to march down. They started the march toward Thomas Jefferson, and I figured he was always going to be safe. But they found something with him, and they found something with Abraham Lincoln, and even in the name George Washington in California, numerous places changed the name of George Washington High School and various other places. They took George Washington's name. This was a sick, woke culture that I think we've largely ended. And a lot of those people that were woke are now turning out to be the opposite. I won't go so far as to say MAGA. It's a very special category. But they've gotten out of that. But we have people that love this country, and they love this really beautiful capital. It is. I flew over it the other day, and I said, what a beautiful place. But if there's crime all over the streets, when you get there, it doesn't look so beautiful. But we're going to make it beautiful again. We're going to fix it with crime, and we're going to also, as we're doing that, we're going to start doing things that we know how to do, that I know how to do better than anybody, I guess, because of my experience from previous life. But not only are we stopping the crime, we're going to clean up the trash and the graffiti and the grime and the dirt and the broken marble panels and all of the things they've done to hurt this city. And we're going to restore the city back to the gleaming capital that everybody wants it to be. It's going to be something very special. All of these people are really tough. Could I shake your hand, Gaddy, please? You're going to be so important here. You're going to be that guy. I hope I don't have.
I ordered 200 hand-forged knives to my dorm room and built a Wix website to sell them. I'm Noah Rosen, founder and owner of Forged to Table Knives. Working my way up through the culinary industry, I knew a lot of people that would love an affordable handcrafted knife, so I saw the opportunity and built my own online empire. When someone first gets to ForgeToTable.com, we want them to have a curated shopping experience. With Wix, the detail and precision we put into crafting every knife went into the website in the same way. At Forge to Table, we're all chefs, so our blog is our creative outlet. With Wix, we're able to provide content and really good recipes that are really delicious while bringing customers into the products. Having a great platform means that we can serve 1,000 customers on the site every day, $1 million in revenue, and I'm just getting started.
This subject, and then we'll go on to a few others. Please.
Mr. President, thank you so much. Can you talk about how personal of an issue this is? You talked about flying over the Washington Monument and seeing the pride of what D.C. is, and do you believe that the status of the city, the cleanliness, the way that crime is low, is a direct reflection on how the country is run?
Yeah, I do. I think the Capitol, look, everyone comes here. They're all coming. All the leaders, they're all wanting to come. And I say it, I've said it again, but I'm really just quoting other leaders from NATO, from the Middle East, King of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE. I was over there. We brought back $5.1 trillion of investment into our country. But I was, a month and a half ago, I was at NATO. We had a great thing. They agreed to put up 5% instead of 2%. 2% they didn't pay, 5% is already paid. We had a great meeting, and they all said the same thing. They said our country was dead. They thought our country was gone. 1 year ago, they said your country was dead. And now you have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We do. We have the hottest country in the world right now. The tariffs have helped. It's given us not only the money, it's billions, trillions of dollars of money, but it gives us great power over enemies. We solved 5 wars with Pakistan and India. We just solved one. Azerbaijan and, as you know, and Armenia. A war was raging for 37 years. And the 2 leaders got up and they said, we never thought this would be solved. Russia tried to solve it. They all tried to solve it. It was a very tough situation, but we got it done and got it done. And I said to the 2 men, I said, are you guys friends? And they had a hard time. You know, they've been killing each other for 37 years, right? One was there 5 years, one was there for 22 years. He said, my whole life I've been fighting this war, and you got it solved. But we did many of those. We did in the Congo and Rwanda. That's been going on for 30 years. 8 to 9 million people killed that they know of, but it was raging, and we got that solved. We got a lot of them done. It's a great honor. But you want to have when they come, the leaders come to our country to sign documents that the war is over or whatever, or for other reasons. They come for trade. And you want them to come through so beautifully. You ride down those roads, everything should be perfect. You shouldn't have medians falling down into the roadway. Median, you know, the metal things that are always, somebody had a great lobbyist, because I've never seen them look good. I've been looking at those things with the little, right? They're always broken and bad, but here they're really bad. And we're going to either put new or fix it. And it's not expensive. It's not really expensive. We're going to fix our roads a little bit. We're going to clean up our sidewalks. You have countries where every Saturday, the people go out and they wash their sidewalks in front of their stores or their houses. They scrub their sidewalks. So we aren't quite at that level yet, I don't think, Gaddy. We're not quite there yet, but maybe we will. They go out and they scrub. I think it's so beautiful to hear that and to see those stories. But we're going to make it clean. But just to finish with your question, it's a very, very strong reflection of our country. And when they see a bad city, you know, my father always used to tell me, I had a wonderful father, very smart, and he used to say, son, when you walk into a restaurant and you see a dirty front door, don't go in. Because if the front door is dirty, the kitchen's dirty also. Same thing with the Capitol. If our Capitol's dirty, our whole country is dirty, and they don't respect us. So it's a very good question, actually.
Mr. President, sorry. Question for you on the specific issue. Do you expect more cities to follow DC's path if this goes through? So the idea is that Chicago, LA, San Francisco, would they expect similar action what we've seen in DC? And the other question, sir, there's reporting that the administration is going to reclassify marijuana. Would that send mixed messages that if marijuana is okay, some drugs are okay, but we're trying to clean up crime? How do they go hand in hand?
We're only looking at that. That's early, but you know, somebody reported it, which is fine. We're looking at it. Some people like it, some people hate it. Some people hate the whole concept of marijuana because if it does bad for the children, it does bad for people that are older than children. But we're looking at reclassification, and we'll make a determination over the next few weeks. And that determination hopefully will be the right one. It's a very complicated subject, the subject of marijuana. I've heard great things having to do with medical, and I've had bad things having to do with just about everything else. But medical and, for pain and various things, I've heard some pretty good things. But for other things, I've heard some pretty bad things. The other part of your question, I mean, we're just going to see what happens with it all. We're going to have a tremendous success in what we're doing. Other cities are hopefully watching this. They're all watching, just like everyone's watching here. They're all watching, and maybe they'll clean up, and maybe they'll do this and get rid of the cashless bail thing and all of the things that caused the problem. I mean, if you go back, this whole thing with cashless bail is a disaster. So many problems came that we never had before. So they're watching us today, and if they don't learn their lesson, if they haven't studied us properly, because we're going to be very successful. I have zero doubt about that. It's going to be. It's a question of will it be really fast, like the border. You know, everyone said, they used to say, Biden used to say, I need legislation. I didn't get any legislation. I called up our people, and we did a great job. Tom Homan was great. As you know, our secretary did a great job. They did a great job. There's no games. They didn't play games. And we're going to have the same thing here. But then I'm going to look at New York in a little while. Let's do this. Let's do this together. Let's see. It's going to go pretty quickly. And if we need to, we're going to do the same thing in Chicago, which is a disaster. We have a mayor there who's totally incompetent. He's an incompetent man. And we have an incompetent governor there. Pritzker's an incompetent. His family threw him out of the business, and he ran for governor. And now I understand he wants to be president. But I noticed he lost a little weight, so maybe he has a chance. You know, you never know what happens. But Pritzker's a gross incompetent guy, thrown out of the family business. But when I look at Chicago and I look at L.A., if we didn't go to L.A. 3 months ago, L.A. would be burning like the part that didn't burn. If he would have allowed the water to come down, which I told them about in my first term. I said, you're going to have problems. Let it come down. We actually sent in our military to have the water come down into L.A. They still didn't want it to come down after the fires. But that was it. We have it coming down. But hopefully L.A. is watching. That mayor also. The city's burning. They lost like 25,000 homes. I went there the day after the fire. You were there. And I saw people standing in front of a burned down home. It was, their homes were incinerated. They weren't like, even the steel was literally, it was all warped and literally disintegrated because of the winds and the flame and the whole thing. It was like a blowtorch. They were standing on this beautiful day, maybe a couple of days after. We gave it a little time because what they had suffered. Almost 25,000 homes. And you see what's happening now. They didn't give their permits. I went to a town hall meeting. I said, we're going to get you the federal permits, which are much harder. Almost immediately. Lee Zeldin is a star. He did an incredible job. They have all their federal permits. They don't have their city permits. And the mayor said to me, we think we could have them in 2 years. I was walking down the street, and I met with firemen and police. And I was saying hello to many people that were standing in front of their homes with yellow tape. You can't go in. You can't go onto the lot. And those people wanted to start rebuilding their homes then and there. And the mayor said, we should be able to get them the permits within 2 years. I said, that's a shame. 2 years? Are you kidding? I'm going to get them the federal permit like almost immediately. 2 years. And she drew it back. Well, maybe 1 year. The place was booing her out of the place. They don't have their permits to build their homes. And now they're talking about putting, this is among the most beautiful areas was in the country. Now they're talking about putting low-income housing there. Can you believe this? I love low-income housing. I made money with low-income housing. I built low-income housing. I know more about low-income housing and luxury housing. I know about everything real estate. They want to replace some of those homes with low-income housing. They haven't gotten their permits yet. We've gotten all the federal permits, which are much tougher to get, and it was done almost immediately through Lee Zeldin and Federal Environmental. And I watched the other day, those people are angry. And now, you know, they had tremendous, they loved that area. They loved the whole big area, different places, but they loved it. It was all luxury stuff and beautiful stuff, and some wasn't that luxury, but the level of love for that neighborhood, their neighborhoods, was incredible. And you know what? I watch people on television, they want to go, they want to leave. They've lost their spirit, they've lost their heart, because the mayor's incompetent. And Gavin Newsom is incompetent. He's got a good line of bullshit, but that's about it. He's incompetent. And you have Los Angeles is, you know, it's amazing. You know, I called, the first thing I did, I got the Olympics to go there. I was the one that got it. And by a rare thing that happened, I'll be the president. I was very upset because I got the Olympics there, and I said I won't be president when it comes, but bad things happened, and illegal things happened, really illegal things happened. Now it turns out one good thing was I'm going to be the president for the Olympics for 2050, for 250, which is going to be fantastic, and also for the World Cup. So we have a lot of good things, and I hope 250 is going to be, the 250th anniversary is going to be the best. But when I looked at those people, and I saw last night on television that they still don't have their permits, it's a disgrace what's happened in Los Angeles.
Yeah, thank you. The China.
Just relax.
I have nothing but confidence in the team and myself that this acquisition will be a smashing success. Excuse me.
Do you consider inviting President Zelensky to join?
So you have to understand, this is a war that should have never happened. This is a war that wouldn't have happened if I were president. It would have never happened. It was the apple of his eye. I got along very well with President Putin. But if you look, under President Bush, they took a lot of territory. Under President Obama, they took a lot of territory. Under Biden, they essentially took the whole thing. You know, it's just a question of time. Under Trump, you know what they took? Nothing, nothing. I was the one that said, you can't build your pipeline. That was half built. I came in, I stopped the pipeline. It's called called Nord Stream 2. Nobody knows that, you know. Nobody ever heard of Nord Stream 2. You might have not even heard it. Biggest pipeline in the world. I stopped it. I was not a friend of Russia, but I got along well with Putin. It's always good to get along with other countries if possible, but that doesn't mean you roll over like Biden did. Biden came in and he immediately approved the pipeline. I couldn't believe it. Then they say Trump wasn't tough on Russia. I wasn't tough. I was the toughest. Putin said, if you're not tough, I would hate like hell to see you visit. I stopped the biggest economic development job, the biggest job that Russia had ever built. I stopped it. It was dead. And this low IQ president came in and he let them build the pipeline and supply oil and gas all over Europe, you know. So this is really a feel-out meeting a little bit. And President Putin invited me to get involved. He wants to get involved. I believe he wants to get it over with. Now, I've said that a few times, and I've been disappointed because I'd have like a great call with him, and then missiles would be lobbed into Kiev or some other place, and you'd have 60 people laying on a road dying. I said, that's cold, that's cold. But it's a violent war. 5,000 to 7,000 people a week are dying. And you know, there's nobody from here. They're all Russian and Ukrainian people, and some people from the cities, much smaller number, but still, those missiles do damage and they kill a lot of people, but mostly soldiers. And they're young soldiers, although in the case of Ukraine, they're getting much older. They're drafting 60-year-olds now. It's a terrible thing to witness, and I think I have an obligation. Look, this is Joe Biden's war. This is not my war. I made a deal with NATO a month ago. You covered it very accurately, actually. We don't pay anything anymore. You know, we're not paying anything. They are buying things from us, and NATO is paying us. I got it raised from 2% of GDP to 5%. And they're paying us for everything that we send. We're not paying. But Biden approved $350 billion. Europe has spent $100 billion. The money that's been spent and the death is incredible. It's the worst thing that's happened, by far the worst that's happened since World War II. So I'm going in to speak to Vladimir Putin. And I'm going to be telling him, you got to end this war. You got to end it. And he wasn't going to mess with me. This war would have never happened. You know, we had a discussion about it one time, and we never had that discussion again. Would have never happened. And when the election was rigged, and then Biden took office, which was barely took office, the auto pen took office, bad things started happening. Bad things, stupid things were said. And it ended up in a war. And you know, and I don't believe this will happen anymore because I have that pretty well covered. This could end up in a third world war. This could have been a third world war. I don't think that's going to happen now. But I thought it was very respectful that the president of Russia is coming to our country as opposed to us going to his country or even a third party place. But I think we'll have constructive conversations. Then after that meeting, immediately, maybe as I'm flying out, maybe as I'm leaving the room, I'll be calling the European leaders who I get along with very well. And, you know, I have a great relationship, I think, with all of them. And I get along with Zelensky, but, you know, I disagree with what he's done. Very, very severely disagree. This is a war that should have never happened, wouldn't have happened. But I'll be speaking to Zelensky. The next meeting will be with Zelensky and Putin, or Zelensky and Putin and me. I'll be there if they need. But I want to have a meeting set up between the two leaders. I was a little bothered by the fact that Zelensky was saying, well, I have to get constitutional approval. I mean, he's got approval to go into war and kill everybody, but he needs approval to do a land swap because there'll be some land swapping going on. I know that through Russia and through conversations with everybody to the good, for the good of Ukraine. Good stuff, not bad stuff. Also, some bad stuff for both. So there's good and there's bad. But it's very complex because you have lines that are very uneven, and there'll be some swapping, there'll be some changes in land, and the word that they will use is, you know, they make changes. We're going to change the lines, the battle lines. Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine. But they've taken some very prime territory. They've taken largely ocean You know, in real estate, we call it oceanfront property. That's always the most valuable property. If you're in a lake, a river, or an ocean, it's always the best property. Well, Ukraine, a lot of people don't know that Ukraine was largely 1,000 miles of ocean. That's gone. Other than one small area, Odessa, it's a small area. There's just a little bit of water left. So I'm going to go and see the parameters. Now, I may leave and say, good luck, and that'll be the end. I may say this is not going to be settled. I mean, there are those that believe that Putin wanted all of Ukraine. I happen to be one of them, by the way. I think if it weren't for me, he would not be even talking to anybody else right now. But I'm going to meet with him. We're going to see what the parameters are. I'm then going to call up President Zelensky and the European leaders right after the meeting, yeah. And I'm going to tell them what kind of a deal. I'm not going to make a deal. It's not up to me to make a deal. I think a deal should be made for both. I think Russia has to get back into building their country. It's a massive country. I think they have 11 time zones, if you can believe it. It's a massive, it's by far, from the standpoint of land, it's by far the largest. They have tremendous potential in Russia to do well. They're not doing well. Their economy is not doing well right now because it's been very well disturbed by this. It doesn't help when the President of the United States tells their largest or second largest oil buyer that we're putting a 50% tariff on you if you buy oil from Russia. That was a big blow. And then they say, gee, he wasn't so tough. Nobody else would have done that. And I haven't stopped there. I mean, look, I was all set to do things far bigger than that, but I got a call that they'd like to meet, and I'm going to see what they want to meet about. I'd like to see a ceasefire. I'd like to see the best deal that could be made for both parties. You know, it takes two to tango, right? So ultimately, I'll have a meeting next week. I had a great relationship with him, considering the fact that, you know, I was not nice to him because of the pipeline. I ended the pipeline. I also gave the javelins. Do you ever hear of a javelin? Javelin is called a tank buster. They say that Obama gave them sheets and I gave them javelins. If it weren't for me, all those tanks that were destroyed at the first days of the war because the tanks got stuck in the mud, some commander made a better. You know, they would have been in Kiev in 4 hours going down the highway. But a Russian general made a brilliant decision to go through the farmland instead. And they just had torrential rains, and the rains were so bad, and it was mud, and those tanks got stuck in the mud. I don't know who that general is, but knowing Vladimir, he's probably not around any longer because all those tanks were stuck in the mud, and they went along with the javelins. I gave them the javelins. You know that, right? I gave them javelins. They gave them sheets. But I'm going to meet with President Putin, and we're going to see what he has in mind. And if it's a fair deal, I'll reveal it to the European Union leaders and to the NATO leaders, and also to President Zelensky. I think out of respect, I'll call him first, and then I'll call them after. And I may say, lots of luck, keep fighting, or I may say we can make a deal.
If not,
I will tell you this. I've seen a poll coming out of Ukraine. 88% of the people would like to see a deal made. And if you go back 3 years, everybody was gung-ho for war. You know, everybody's gung-ho for war until you have it. It's an amazing thing. I had it with a couple of countries where I couldn't get a deal done with one particular country. And I just couldn't. The guy's great. He's a friend of mine. Great. Good leader. Tough as hell. I couldn't get the deal done. And then he went into war for a short period of time. You know where I'm talking about. First term. And it was nasty. Guys being killed all over the place. And he went through 1 week of war, and I was able to get the deal done. He said, this is nasty. Yes, please.
Yeah, just to follow up on what you were saying there. First of all, Volodymyr Zelensky is not invited on Friday?
He wasn't a part of it. I would say he could go, but he's gone to a lot of meetings. You know, he's been there for 3.5 years. Nothing happened.
And what is the definition?
I mean, do you want somebody that's been doing this for 3.5 years? What's the definition of a good deal? I'll tell you after I hear what the deal is. Because there could be many definitions. You know, you're talking about a very large and complex situation. Now, I tell you, the war that I just settled with Azerbaijan and with, as you know, in Armenia, was almost as complex as this one. having to do with routes,
Successful
trade.
meeting on Friday with Vladimir Putin.
Well, we're going to have a meeting with Vladimir Putin, and at the end of that meeting, probably in the first 2 minutes, I'll know exactly whether or not a deal can be
How will
made.
you know that?
Because that's what I do. I make deals.
Mr. President.
please, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I'm going to ask you two questions, one about China, one about Russia, if I could. On China, your administration agreed to send the most advanced or advanced NVIDIA and AMD chips.
No, obsolete. No.
Obsolete chip. Well, and then 15% of the
You
profits
mean the
come
20s? No. This is an old chip that China already has. And I deal with Jensen, who's a great guy, and NVIDIA. The chip that we're talking about, the H20, it's an old chip. China already has it in a different.
For the ones who build it, fix it, and maintain it, there's Grainger. You can count on Grainger for industrial quality products delivered fast, and you'll have access to experts ready to answer your questions. Call or click Grainger.ca today. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The Blackwell is super duper advanced. I wouldn't make a deal with that, although it's possible I'd make a deal, a somewhat enhanced in a negative way Blackwell. In other words, take 30% to 50% off of it. But that's the latest and the greatest in the world. Nobody has it. They won't have it for 5 years. But the H20 is obsolete. You know, it's one of those things, but it still has a market. So I said, listen, I want 20% if I'm going to approve this for you, for the country, for our country, for the U.S. I don't want it myself. You know, every time I say like 747, I want, yeah, for the Air Force. So I just wanted, so when I say I want 20, I want for the country. I only care about the country. I don't care about myself. And he said, would you make it 15? So we negotiate a little deal. So he's selling a essentially old chip that Huawei has a similar chip, a chip that does the same thing. And I said, good, if I'm going to give it to you, because they have a, they have a stopper, what we call a stopper, not allowed to do it. It's really known as a restrictive covenant. And I said, if I'm going to do that, I want you to pay us as a country something, because I'm giving you a release. I released them only from the H20. Now, on the Blackwell, I think he's coming to see me again about that. But that will be a unenhanced version of the big one. Like, I don't know if you know it, we will sometimes sell fighter jets to a country and we'll give them 20% less than we have. Do you know what I mean, right? That's the same.
So on Russia, do you see a time, Mr. President, when there could be normal trade between the U.S. and Russia? Should your meeting go well? Should there be peace?
I do, yeah. Russia has a very valuable piece of land. If Vladimir Putin would go toward business instead of toward war, it's a warring nation. That's what they do. They fight a lot of wars. A friend of mine said Russia's tough because they just keep on fighting. They beat Hitler, so did we, and they beat Napoleon. They've been doing this for a long time. I asked a question to a very, very smart man that some people like and some people don't like. Viktor Orban, right, from Hungary, the head of Hungary, and he's in that same area and knows the two countries very well. I said, this was before Biden didn't do anything to get us out of it. He could have gotten us out of that. It would have never happened. I said, so can Russia be beaten by Ukraine? He looked at me like, what a stupid question. He said, Russia's a massive country, and they win their country, and they win their life through wars. They fight wars. That's what they do. He said, China beats you with trade. Russia beats you with war. That was a very interesting statement. China's not beating us with trade, not when I'm in charge. But they were beating Biden with trade, but they never beat us with trade. Don't forget, China had to pay $400 billion worth of tariffs when I was last time. That was last time. And if we didn't have COVID, all of this stuff we would be loaded. We're finding hundreds of billions of dollars of cash is pouring into our country now because of tariffs. And all we're doing is we're doing what they do to us. It's so beautiful to see it. They find they found last month, as you saw, $25 billion of excess cash flow. They're saying, where did it come from? I said, I'll tell you where it came from. It came from a place called tariffs, and we're doing very well. We're really doing well. But I expect to have a meeting with Putin that I think it'll be good, but it might be bad. And I'm here for one reason, to get rid of a war that somebody else started. Should have never happened. And if I could end it, great. Complex war, a lot of bad blood, But Zelensky's been there for 3.5 years. So if you put him in a room, now I will say this, ultimately I'm going to put the two of them in a room. I'll be there or won't be there. And I think it'll get solved. Yeah, please be happy.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Excuse me, I'm going to suggest, because do you have any other questions on DC? Because I don't want them to be. Wait. These are incredible people. I don't want them to be standing up here on subjects. Does anybody have a question of them? And then you guys can leave. Okay, a question, Brian. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. All right.
And by the way, this is only on DC, and then they're going to leave because it's unfair to have them stand up here all day long.
I
Brian.
agree. I've got two questions for you. First, about DC. This is personal for me as well. Last year, I was robbed on the streets by one of these teenage thugs. Had a gun, got away with it. Let's talk about the effort that between law enforcement, prosecutors, and judges, because it's a recycling belt. Like, these kids go, they don't fear the police. They know it. If you talk about how we've got to get these judges and put these kids behind bars,
right.
Adult crimes deserve adult penalties. And my second question, I'll after you answer that, please.
You want me to answer?
Or whoever wants to take it.
Okay. It's real. Do you want me to answer it? Go ahead. Here's the problem. Assuming that they're 17 years, older than 17 years old, I can get the case. If they're under 18 years of age, I can only get the case if it's murder, rob one, rape, or even if they shoot a gun but don't kill you, I can't get it. So the law has to be changed. As the president said, cashless bail. That has to be changed. All right, then, even assuming I get the case, I get jurisdiction, I get a conviction, the D.C. Council has given the judges the ability to give probation on shootings. And so then it's up to them. All of these things, the Youth Rehabilitation Incarceration Reduction Act, and now they want to seal records. So if we work hard, we get a conviction, they want to wipe it out. So that needs all to be changed.
Okay, Mr. Question.
Pam, would you answer that also?
Yeah, and just back to that topic. Let's be clear, though. We're going to charge them, and we're going to track every single thing they do throughout every step of the court process and report back to you and let all of you know what's happening to them. Because the people who are prosecuting them, the judges who are trying them, they also need to be held accountable.
Mr. President, you also made the comment. This is the most people we've ever seen in this briefing.
I've never seen
ever, right?
I've never seen any. Where's Caroline? Where's my superstar? Caroline. Is Caroline in the back? Where's Caroline? Come here, Caroline. Come here, Caroline. Come here. Is she doing a good job, by the way? Come here, Caroline. Is this the largest crowd that you've ever seen?
This is definitely the most packed briefing, and I think all of you would agree. I think it's why we need to build a ballroom.
Mr. President, I have a better idea.
All right, Brian, go ahead.
My question is this. You're building the big, beautiful ballroom.
Yeah.
Could we build a big, beautiful briefing room, updated technology, more seats?
I don't want to do that. I don't want you to be comfortable. So no, I don't want to make life comfortable. So look. Let's just do this. Let's do this. It's going to be a big thing. We're going to Russia. That's going to be a big deal. What happens, happens. I'll let you know what happens. You'll be the first to know. I'll be calling the European leaders. I'm going with totally. I mean, we have a lot of talks. They're great people. They're great leaders, actually, and they want to get back. Honestly, as one of them said, I've OD'd on trying to settle Ukraine. They've OD'd, meaning they've overdosed on the settlement of Ukraine. Not a nice expression, but boy, is it accurate. They're tired of it. They want to get back to spending money on their countries. You know, Biden gave them $350 billion. Europe gave $100 billion. It should be much more than that. Shouldn't have been that kind of, they should have had equalization, but they didn't. But you know what? Still a lot of money. They want to get back to building their own countries. They really want it resolved. My relationship with the European leaders, as you saw, is extremely good. It's perfect. It's beautiful. Wait. And we're going to try. I'll be in touch with them. I have 5 of them call me. You think it's easy? There are a lot of European leaders, but they rely on me. Very much rely on me. If it wasn't for me, this thing would never get solved until the last person breathing is dead.
Would you talk to them before?
Mr. President.
Yeah, I did. I'm talking to him right
Mr.
now.
President.
So I'm talking to the European leaders. I'll be talking to President Zelensky. I'm going to get everybody's ideas. I go into that thing fully loaded right up there, and we're going to see what happens. Now, I think one of 2 things is going to happen. It's going to be a good meeting, and we'll go a step further. We'll get it done. I'd like to see a ceasefire very, very quickly. Very quick. I'd like to see it immediately, but I'd like to see it very quickly. And we're going to be dealing with the European leaders, and we're going to be dealing with President Zelensky, and hopefully we're going to have a great success. As far as this, what we did today, and I think you were here for D.C. more so than even Russia, because Russia will be, you know, we have a couple of days to go, but the Russia is going to be very interesting. But to me, what is very exciting, and we're going to take back our capital. We're going to make it beautiful again, but we're going to make it, more importantly, safe again. It's going to be so safe. It's going to be a model. And then we'll look at other cities also. But other cities are studying what we're doing. And you have some capable people in other cities. They can do it too. But we have a great group of professionals. We're going to have a safe, beautiful capital, and it's going to happen very quickly. Thank you all. Thank you all very much. Wow. I've been up here a lot. I've never seen a crowd like this. I think we need a ballroom, and that's happening. It's going to be a beautiful ballroom. This is really a lot of people, most I've ever seen in this room. And we're here for a very serious purpose, very serious purpose. Something's out of control, but we're going to put it in control very quickly like we did on the southern border. I'm announcing a historic action to rescue our nation's capital from crime, bloodshed, bedlam, and squalor, and worse.
Pitch due tomorrow? No idea yet.
One idea, zero time, LTX Studio builds it with you. Develop your story with the help of our AI assistant, or stick to your script. Cast an actor from a previous job, or create a new one. Refine the scenes, then bring your storyboard to life. From nothing to full concept, together, fast. Build, pitch, win with LTX Studio.
Directly involved with that. Very good people, but they're tough, and they know what's happening. They've done it before. In addition, I'm deploying the National Guard to help reestablish law, order, and public safety in Washington, D.C., and they're going to be allowed to do their job properly. And you people are victims of it, too. You know, you're reporters, and I understand a lot of you tend to be on the liberal side, but you don't want to get mugged and raped and shot and killed. And you all know people and friends of yours that happened. And so you can be anything you want, but you want to have safety in the streets. You want to be able to leave your apartment or your house where you live and feel safe and go into a store to buy a newspaper or buy something. And you don't have that now. The murder rate in Washington today is higher than that of Bogota, Colombia, Mexico City, some of the places that you hear about as being the worst places on earth, much higher. This is much higher. The number of car thefts has doubled over the past 5 years, and the number of carjackings has more than tripled. Murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. They say 25 years, but they don't know what that means because it just goes back 25 years. Can't be worse. Our capital city has been overtaken by violent gangs and bloodthirsty criminals roving they'll start something else. But I just want to congratulate you. It's a very big deal. When you come out and when you leave the room, you'll see that we just, over the last few minutes, literally shot out a boat, a drug-carrying boat, a lot of drugs in that boat. And you'll be seeing that, and you'll be reading about that. It just happened moments ago, and our great general, head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who's been so incredible, including what took place in Iran, knocking out potential nuclear power for a long time to come. I think within a month they would have had it if we didn't do what we did. But he gave us a little bit of a briefing, and you'll see. And there's more where that came from. We have a lot of drugs pouring into our country, coming in for a long time. And we just, these came out of Venezuela and coming out very heavily from Venezuela. A lot of things are coming out of Venezuela. So we took it out, and you'll get to see that after this meeting is over. Do you have any questions, please? Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Senator Tuberville, you talked about the cost savings
Yeah.
associated with this announcement. Can you talk about the strategic benefits by having Space Force Command headquartered in Huntsville?
Well, it just works because we have so much else there. And having a central, you could call it a central command, but it really is a command station. Also, even locationally, where it is, and when you think about flying distances, if you can save a half an hour as fast as some of these planes go and things go, and even the rockets go, if you can save by having the best location. So we went out, as you know, to experts, and we had 4 different groups of experts. They all said this was the best location. I also loved it from the standpoint, I know the people of Alabama, they are great people, work hard, and there's no games, and they're very proud of it. And I would say they fought harder for it than anybody else also. A lot of states, 5 states really wanted it, but they wanted it more. And I kid you not when I say that these people, they spoke to me a lot. That's all they wanted to talk about. They didn't want to talk about the weather. They only wanted to talk about moving to this.
At Vistaprint, we print signs so people can see your brand up close. But we also print signs so that people can see your business here, see it here, and see it here, so you stand out. Even when they're way back here. Get 20% off signs and banners at Vistaprint.ca.
That you were dead. You see that?
No.
People didn't see it for a couple days. 1.3 million user engagements as of Saturday morning about your demise.
Really? I didn't see that. You know, I have heard, it's sort of crazy, but last week I did numerous news conferences, all successful. They went very well, like this is going very well. And then I didn't do any for 2 days, and they said, there must be something wrong with him. Biden wouldn't do them for months. You wouldn't see him. And nobody ever said there was ever anything wrong with him, and we know he wasn't in the greatest of shape. No, I heard that. I get reports. Now, you knew I did an interview that lasted for about an hour and a half with somebody, and everybody saw that was on one of your competitors. I did numerous shows and also did a number of truths, long truths, and I think pretty poignant truths. No, I was very active over the weekend. They also knew I went out to visit some people at the club that I own, pretty nearby on the Potomac River. And no, I've been very active actually over the weekend. I didn't hear that one. That's pretty serious stuff. Well, it's fake news. You know, it's just it's so fake. That's why the media has so little credibility. I knew they were saying, like, is he okay? How's he feeling? What's wrong? I said, I just left. And it's also sort of a longer weekend, you know, it's Labor Day weekend. So I would say a lot of people know I was very active this Labor Day. I had heard that, but I didn't hear it to that extent. Go ahead, Peter.
Something else. We know that this country has a huge problem with school shootings. You've said that you're open to sending the National Guard pretty much anywhere. Would you ever consider sending an armed National Guardsman to every school?
Well, we have a big problem with school shooting, but we also have thousands and thousands of schools that run perfectly. You know, they talk about you can do things construction-wise, and that's really, I think nobody knows more about construction than me. You can build the construction doors. You can build what they call safety doors, where they lock on the outside, the inside, and every place else. Well, but if one of these lunatics happens to get through, then the police can't get in. then they're looking for keys all over the place, and it takes a lot of disadvantages to doing, spending billions and billions of dollars and actually making it safer in some way for some of these lunatics that we're dealing with. But I don't think so. I've thrown out the concept. We have great teachers that love our children. The parents love the children. Teachers love the children too. And if you took a small percentage of those teachers that were in the military, that were distinguished in the military, that were in the National Guard, et cetera, and you let them carry, that's something that a lot of people like. I sort of liked it. It'd have to be studied, but they're trained. They know about weapons. You can't do it with every teacher because most teachers don't know, but I always thought that would be an alternative. But it just, we've had a lot of instances. Other countries have also. They have different kinds of problems than we have, but we do have, there's something going on, and it's a bad thing. Yes, please.
Have you spoken with President Putin in the past week? Have you spoken with President Putin?
Yeah, I don't want to. I have learned things that will be very interesting. I think in the next few days you'll find out.
Will there be any consequences if there isn't some type of announcement of a meeting with President Putin and President Zelensky?
Yeah, there will be. We're going to see what happens. We're going to see what they do and what happens. I'm watching it very closely. Last week they lost 7,000 between the two countries. 7,313 soldiers, to be somewhat exact, for no reason whatsoever. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, but, they're soldiers. I want to see it end. Yeah.
Mr. President, have you decided you're definitely going to send National Guard troops to Chicago?
I didn't say when, but the answer is, look, Chicago's very interesting because I watched Pritzker get up and say we don't need help, we're safe. But 2 weeks ago, they had 6 people murdered, and they had 24 people hit by bullets. Last week, as you know, it was 7 people, 24 people hit, and 7 people died. And then over the last 2 days, that was the crown jewel. They had, I guess, 9 or 10 killed, and 50 hit with bullets. And you have this governor get up, who's a terrible governor. Probably he and Gavin Newsom would be probably the 2 worst and most naive. They're naive. Either they're naive or they're very untruthful. And he'll say, we don't want any protection. We don't need. So in the last 3 weeks, he's lost almost 20 people killed. There's no place in the world, including you can go to Afghanistan, you can go to places that you would think of. They don't even come close to this. Chicago is a hellhole right now. Baltimore is a hellhole right now. Parts of Los Angeles are terrible. If we didn't put out the fires, and I mean the other fires, the bullet fires, they didn't do a good job with. They should have had the water coming down, like I said. We had to release the water. We had to go in and release the water to L.A. It's so badly run. But if I didn't send the National Guard into Los Angeles, I would be making an announcement today. I'd be talking about Huntsville, and I'd simultaneously be saying, by the way, the Olympics is not coming to Los Angeles. If we didn't do that, and even the sheriff, the top law enforcement person in Los Angeles said, we could not have handled it without them. So that's what he said.
Did you make your mind up on Chicago, though?
Well, we're going in. I didn't say when. We're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks, and 75 are shot with bullets. So let me tell you a little story about a place called D.C., District of Columbia, right here where we are. It's now a safe zone. We have no crime. It's in such great shape. You can go and actually walk with your children, your wife, your husband. You can walk right down the middle of the street. You're not going to be shot, Peter. You're safe. Everyone likes you anyway. They probably wouldn't do it. But it's so dangerous. And there are people in this audience that you've suffered greatly. There are people in this audience that have been mugged and hurt badly, and they don't want to talk about it. Maybe you were very brave in talking about it. You made quite an impression on a lot of people. I appreciate it. But there were other people in this room that have been hurt very badly just walking down the street in D.C. Washington, D.C. is a safe zone right now. It's a safe city. The restaurants are open. They're booming. You can't get a restaurant. New restaurants are announcing that they're going to be open. This took place in 12 days. Now it's 15 days, but 3 days ago it became what's known as a safe zone. It's a safe city. And this city was really bad, really, really bad. We took 1,600 people out, hardcore criminals that will not be coming back anytime soon. And we're very proud of it. You know, to have our nation's capital lose every week, you know, it was like years, many years, where every single week somebody was killed for many, many, many consecutive weeks. This went on for years. And then we had, last week it was announced that nobody was killed last week. And I made that announcement in front of a very distinguished leader of a country. And I'm saying proudly, ladies and gentlemen, nobody was killed in Washington, D.C. this week. He looked at me like, what's that all about? I said, yeah, we have a little bit of a crime problem, and we don't have a crime problem in Washington anymore. And the mayor has been very helpful, and the police commission has been very helpful, and it's been a great team. And I would love to have Governor Pritzker call me. I'd gain respect for him and say, we do have a problem, and we'd love you to send in the troops, because you know what? The people, they have to be protected. I saw today on one of your networks, not a friendly network, except really the opposite, I would say, very unfriendly network. And they interviewed about 12 people on this morning. Most of them were African American, they were black. And they were saying, please, please, please let the president send in. These were people from Chicago. Please, we need help. We need help. We can't walk outside. We're petrified. If the governor of Illinois would call me up, I would love to do it. Now, we're going to do it anyway. We have the right to do it because I have an obligation to protect this country. And that includes Baltimore. I saw where Governor Moore was asking me to take a walk down the street of Baltimore. Well, Baltimore is a very unsafe place. It's rated number 4 in the city, one of the most unsafe places anywhere in the world. But, you know, we took care. This was a beautiful thing that happened in Washington because we showed that it could be done. And this wasn't just sending big, strong guys, and they are big and they are strong. You know, we had a great decision from the Supreme Court that had to do with sort of talent. It had to do with you are put down based on merit. You can hire based on merit. So merit for a soldier or for a policeman is strong, physically fit, having a certain ability, not a person that is woke and got the job through woke, but wasn't strong enough to lift a gun out of the holster, et cetera, et cetera. No, I looked at the police. As you know, last week I went over, we had a meeting there had to be 300 people, and they were all very impressive looking. And when the bad guys see them, they're not going to do a thing. And so I'm very proud of Washington. It serves as a template, and we're going to do it elsewhere. But Chicago is certainly going to be high. I would love to have him call. I would love the governor of Illinois. I'd be honored to take his call. All he has to do is say, sir, we need help. It's out of control. And everyone knows it is. He's not kidding anyone. I would love to have, I would say, Governor Moore call, because I watched him over the weekend trying to explain that Baltimore, what they need is housing. No, they don't need housing. They need to get rid of the criminals. These are hardcore criminals. You know, we took many people off the streets of Washington, D.C. They're hardcore. They're not going to be good. In 10 years, in 20 years, in 2 years, they're going to be criminals. They were born to be criminals, frankly. They were born to be criminals, and they're tough and mean, and they'll cut your throat, and they won't even think about it the next day. They won't even remember that they did it. And we're not going to have those people.
I've seen my share of lost souls, and at this moment, you're in a very dark place. I'm beyond your reach. There'll be no epiphany. There's only so long I'll turn a blind eye. What do you want from me? You're going to hell, brother.
Anemone. Only in theaters October 3rd.
leaders across the country to work with you on crime. Do you see your efforts here in DC, including, for example, working with Mayor Bowser here as a model for bringing more bipartisanship in matters not only with crime, but also issues that matter to everyday American people's lives?
So Mayor Bowser's been great. She could have taken the thing, oh, well, and then after I clean it up, they'll take credit for it. You know what they do is they take credit. Like, we cleaned up Los Angeles. We did a great job there. And it was overwhelming what was going on. And again, the police chief made a statement that we could not have done, there's no way they could handle it. You saw what was happening out there. It was going to be a disaster. We stopped it cold. If we didn't do that, would have been a very sad day. And you know, remember, we have the Olympics, we have the World Cup, we have all these things coming, and we have 250, all of these things coming. But I watched Newsom get up and say he's doing a great, he's not, we're the ones that did it, and that's okay, whatever it takes, but the main thing is but he got up and said, we did it. Well, he didn't want us there, and he's going to need us again because it's starting to form again. I see it. It's starting to form again. You know, we have to maintain. It's like maintenance on an airplane. You can buy it, but you have to maintain it. And if you don't maintain it, a good plane becomes very unsafe very quickly. So it's an honor to do it. It's a lot of presidents wouldn't do what I'm doing. I don't need this heat. But when I watched television last night and I'm watching the news and I see that 9 people were killed in Chicago and 54 were badly wounded with bullets, I say, that's not this country. We have to do something. And I do say this, I say this very much. I'm not speaking to anybody but them right now. I would love to receive calls from governors and mayors saying they need help. We'll help them. We have a lot of people. We have a great force. We have a great military force. You know, Pete will tell you that when I was running for office, and this was a big headline, I think, you know, probably got me a couple of votes, but you couldn't sign people in the military. Nobody wanted to join the military, the Army, Air Force, the Navy, Marines, Space Force, Coast Guard. We never forget Coast Guard because they've done such a great job. Never. But nobody wanted to join any of them. We were way below what we wanted. Every single one. The closest was the Marines, whatever that is. You'll explain that to me. But the closest was the Marines. But every service was way down, way down. And then I got elected, and our country's the hottest country anywhere in the world right now. Everybody's talking about the USA. They're talking about the job that we're doing. Everybody. We have the best economy. We have a very, very important decision being made by the Supreme Court because our country is the richest, the strongest, the most powerful. But if for some reason some liberal court, I'm talking about the court that just ruled, where even an Obama judge voted in favor of us, which I gave him a compliment yesterday, as you know. I said that took great courage. But it's a liberal court, and it's going up to the Supreme Court, who I think have been incredible people. I think they've made very wise decisions. But the tariff question, because without the tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs. And if for some reason somebody wanted to be politically correct, I actually think it's unpolitically correct. I think politically correct is to approve it because there's nothing so popular as what's happened to our country. Our country is doing so well. But we had a liberal court gave us a very shocking ruling, and that ruling is basically saying that the trillions of dollars that are pouring into our country, putting us in a position like no country is anywhere in the world, that they'd like to see us that taken away. By the way, a lot of the people behind that lawsuit, that particular, are from foreign countries, I might add.
There's a video that is circulating online now of the White House where a window is open to the residents upstairs and somebody is throwing a big bag out the window. Have you seen this?
No, that's probably AI generated.
So
Actually, you can't open the windows. You know why? They're all heavily armored and bulletproof.
So that's a fake video?
Well, it's got to be because I know every window up there. The last place I'd be doing it is that because there's cameras all over the place, right? Including yours. No, but every window, I've never seen a window that's, in fact, my wife was complaining about it the other day. She said, love to have a little fresh air come in, but you can't. They're bulletproof. And number one, they're sealed. And number two, each window weighs about 600 pounds. You have to be pretty strong to open them up. No, that has to be. Where was the window? Let me see.
Maybe from the renovations?
Which is the window?
It looks like this is on the 15th Street side, I think.
Yeah.
So right here.
Yeah, those windows are sealed. Those windows are they're all sealed. You can't open them.
What you were saying regarding the federal.
It's the kind of thing they do. And one of the problems we have with AI, it's both good and bad. If something happens really bad, just blame AI. But also they create things, you know, it works both ways. If something happens that's really bad, maybe I'll have to just blame AI. But there's truth to it because I see so many phony things. I saw something as I was growing up from the time I was a baby till now. I said, who did that? It was AI generated. So it's a little bit scary, to be honest with you. But those windows are all very heavily sealed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to follow up with what you were saying regarding that federal appellate court that ruled against you and your administration as it relates to your ability.
Well, they ruled against our country, the court, and they ruled against us before. It's a very liberal court.
You called it highly partisan in your
Well, it
social
certainly
media
is.
posts.
It certainly
and
is.
in fact, it was along ideological lines, 7-4.
Well, except that we actually got one of the Obama judges that was appointed by President Obama voted in favor of the tariffs because he felt it was imperative for our country to thrive and survive even. And I gave him credit. I said, you know what? That took a lot of courage for him to do it because you don't see that often.
So my question is, I suspect you're going to appeal that all the way to the Supreme Court.
Well, we already have, yeah. In fact, we're doing something else. We're going to be going to the Supreme Court, we think, tomorrow because we need an early decision. I mean, look, the financial fabric of our country, we're a rich, incredible country right now. And we're able to, you know, other countries use tariffs on us for years, and we never did. I did a lot during my first term, but then we had COVID and we had to focus on other things. You couldn't be tariffing Italy, Spain, France, as they were dying by the thousands and millions. But we did with China, and China paid us billions and billions of dollars. And I started the process, but then I had to end it a little bit because of COVID. We focused on that. But no, it's a very important decision. And frankly, if they make the wrong decision, it would be a devastation for our country. We've taken in trillions of dollars. And by the way, all these countries signed agreements, as an example. They're all happy. Everybody's happy. But some whack job put in a lawsuit. It went before a very liberal court, and the liberal court ruled, it was 11, they ruled 7-4. With one of the most liberal of them all voting in our favor because they're patriots. I think I give tremendous credit to that judge. And now it's going to the Supreme Court. Now we're going to be asking for early admittance. We're going tomorrow, and we're going to ask for an expedited ruling because, you know, when you look at the stock market's down today, the stock market's down because of that. Because the stock market needs the tariffs. They want the tariffs. If you look at AI, all of those, you know, all of that money that's going to be invested, trillions and trillions of dollars, the biggest thing, bigger than the internet, I suspect. It's the internet plus 3 or 4 other things combined. We are leading very substantially with AI. We're leading because of tariffs. We're leading because of talent, and this is where they'd like to be. But without the tariffs, we wouldn't have a chance because we wouldn't be able to protect those investments of the companies coming in. So if you took away tariffs, we could end up being a third world country. That's how big the ruling. So we're asking for an expedited ruling.
As a backstop to that, President, you have a Republican-controlled Congress. You control the House. You control the Senate.
Yeah, but we don't have 60 votes. We don't have 60 votes. I'd love to do that. Oh, if we had 60 senators, if we got the 60 votes, we would get them. But we need 60 votes, and we need, you know, a certain number in the House. I think we'd get, I don't know, we have about 5 of them here. Would everybody agree with me on tariffs? Without tariffs, we're a different country. We have taken in so much money. And here's the thing. We signed a deal with Japan. They're paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. We signed a deal with South Korea. We signed a deal with the European Union. We signed a deal with Europe. And those countries are paying us $950 billion, and they're happy about it. They're okay. As one of them said, it's amazing that we got away with it so long. One of my friends, a leader of one of the countries, and they're fine with it. They all signed. If that ruling ever went against us, I guess we'd have to give back hundreds of billions. We would have to give trillions and trillions of dollars back to countries that have been ripping us off for the last 35 years. And I can't imagine it happening. On a legal basis, they have no legal basis whatsoever. But on a common sense basis, it would destroy America. Okay.
Reducing, we talked about controlling the sky. On Sunday, the satellite signal of Ursula von der Leyen's plane was alleged.
With Ursula? Well, she had an interesting event. She's a tremendous woman. And so what are you asking me about her?
NATO is concerned about it, about this.
Sure, NATO is concerned about it. Well, nobody knows where it came from, but they did take away her ability to use a phone. You know? Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that could happen to me. I'd be very happy.
Mr. President, reducing the tariffs on India from 50%.
What does that mean?
Are you considering taking away some of the tariffs that you've imposed on India?
No, we get along with India very well, but India has, you have to understand, for many years it was a one-sided relationship. Only now, since I came along, and because of the power that we have with tariffs, India was charging us tremendous tariffs. About couldn't sell into India. There was a 200% tariff on a motorcycle. So what happens? Harley-Davidson went to India and built a motorcycle plant. And now they don't have to pay tariffs. Same thing as us. So what we're doing is literally thousands of companies are coming into the U.S., car companies, AI, but, you know, more traditionally car companies. We have so many car company factories under construction or being designed right now. And they're coming from China, they're coming from Mexico, I must tell you, and they're coming from Canada, a lot of them coming from Canada. But they're coming into our country because they want to build here. And they want to build here for two reasons. Number one, they'd like to be here. And number two, the tariffs are protecting them. And number three, they want to avoid paying tariffs. When they build their cars here, they don't have any tariffs to pay. You know, when you build here, you don't have any tariffs.
Mr. President,
Go ahead,
in
please.
light of the Minnesota shooting last week, the Department of Homeland Security is now awarding more than $100 million to hundreds of faith organizations across the country to help them ramp up security. What's your vision for further protecting religious liberty across the country amid incidents of threats and
So
violence?
religious liberty is so important, and we're talking about every religion now, and we're doing things on that nobody else has ever done, and we're going to be having a big announcement in about 2 weeks on that question. Yeah, please.
On Space Command, sir, are you concerned that people may not be willing to relocate from Colorado to Alabama?
No, I'm not worried. It will get somebody else. I mean, the problem with Colorado is they have a very corrupt voting system. Look, I have so many friends in Colorado. Anytime you have mail-in voting, you have corrupt elections. Very simple. It's very simple. Even Jimmy Carter said it with his commission. They set up a commission with him and Scoop Jackson and some people, highly regarded people. And they said the finding was, if you have mail-in voting, you will have corrupt elections. Well, your radical left governor decided that he was going to have all mail-in voting in Colorado. Once you have all mail-in voting, and for whatever reason, the Democrats cheat. And they cheat like, you know, they're not stupid. That's the only thing. They're no good on policy. They're no good on management. They're no good at government. But they're great at cheating. And they stick together, too. I give them credit for sticking together. Please.
Obviously, this is a big win for national security, moving this to Alabama. We've all can agree with that.
Big.
Is there any idea of the economic impact this has on the state and on that local area?
Katie, do you want to answer that?
Look, I mean, this. Go ahead, George.
Please go.
This is going to be tremendous. I mean, the state of Alabama, what we've seen through this process is the worst of Washington. We've seen politics get in the way of what is best for the warfighter, what's best for national security. And the state of Alabama is about to show the country the best among us. So we know the economic impact is going to be tremendous. There at Redstone Arsenal, we're proud to house everything from the FBI to headquarters there for material command to a number of things. We obviously have NASA with Marshall Space Flight Center, and so this naturally fits within. When you look at the decision matrix that they placed in front of us, that's why we ranked so high, is because we have the resources necessary and the ability to build out quickly to meet the needs in front of us. As far as economic impact, it would be tremendous. Does anybody have an exact number? 1,600 jobs.
3,000 spin-off.
With 3,000 spin-off. Look at this. This is teamwork right here. So we are really proud, and the people of Alabama are ready to get to work.
And I've got a housing question, if you could, just for a second, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
please.
Owning a home and going about the American dream seems like it's out of touch for a lot of Americans. Just recently, you pushed out a statement about addressing an emergency housing situation.
That's right. We're thinking about doing that.
Yeah, can you just...
Well, we need a little help from the Fed. We have a man named Jerome Too Late Powell. You probably heard of him. He's too late. He's way too late. And the economy is so strong that it's pushing through that. Normally, it would have been much tougher, but we're doing so well that we're pushing through it. But it makes it very hard for people to get mortgages because too late is too late. Very simple. He's too late. And probably political, whatever. He wasn't too late before the election. Before the election, he was cutting rates, right? Because he was hoping that, I guess, Biden would get in or that Kamala would. He was a big Biden guy. Explain that one. And then he was a Kamala person. But he was hoping, I guess, she'd win, I guess. I don't know. It didn't work out too well. But, yeah, we need a very serious cut. You know, I think that if you look back many decades ago, the United States was always the lowest, even if they were doing badly. The United States was, because without the United States, everything in the world would die. It's true. It's so powerful. It's so big. And I made it really big in the first 4 years. Then it started to degenerate with what this Biden administration did. But we built it up to a level that I never thought we could be at this quickly. We're the hottest, we're the best financially. The money coming in is so big because of tariffs and other things, but because of tariffs. Tariff gets us even those other things. Plus, it gets us great negotiating. I settled 7 wars, and numerous of those wars were because of trade, and numerous of the trade deals that I made were because of tariffs. It gives you a great negotiating ability. If that ability were taken away from us by a liberal court acting on essentially foreign nations asking to get help from the United States government, when they've been doing this to us for 40 years, that's why we have $38 trillion in debt. We won't have it for long if they let us, if they allow us to do what everybody knows we should be able to do. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, another Biden-era action that you're now reversing is that you signed a deal last week to make federal buildings adopt and embrace classical architecture styles again. Can you talk to us about why you do that, and also what's your vision?
Well, we want to see beautiful buildings. Now, you know, it's in the eye of the beholder. I've seen architectural reviews over the years. I'm an expert at it. I've gotten a lot of great reviews. But I've seen buildings that I didn't think were very good get great reviews, and I've seen great buildings get bad reviews. So, but it's just a standard. We want to have a good standard. We're building something here. You know, for 150 years, they wanted a ballroom at the White House. We're doing something at the highest level, using great architects and all. And, you know, it's very exciting. But we have a lot of interesting things happening architecturally in D.C. And D.C. is like a different place. And, you know, even the contractor said, sir, we walked down today, we feel like much safer. It's like a different place. Washington, D.C. is great. Now, we're going to also beautify it. We're going to put a topping on the roads. We're not going to rip them apart and take 4 years to build a road that was exactly the same by the time you build it. But we're going to put toppings. We're going to put new medians in. We're going to get the graffiti off. We're going to put tiles up in the tunnels where the tiles are missing. We'll do the whole tunnel instead of, you know, a little area where you see new tiles, old tiles that never look too good, but they could use it. You know, they've been up for 50 years. They've served their duty. But we're going to make this within about a 20-mile radius from the White House. we're going to have this place spick and span. It's going to be crime-free, and it's going to be spick and span. It's going to be, you'll be proud of Washington again. Go ahead, please.
Sir, China's having a massive military parade that President Putin and Kim Jong-un will be attending. Do you interpret that as a challenge to this? And are you concerned at all about those countries trying to be some sort of counterweight?
Not at all. China needs us, and I have a very good relationship with President Xi, as you know, but China needs us much more than we need them. No, I don't see that at all, no. And I had actually a very good meeting with President Putin a couple of weeks ago. We'll see if anything comes out of it. If it doesn't, we'll take a different stance.
Everyone March today in California ruled that your deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles was illegal. Do you have any response?
Well, it was a radical left judge, but very importantly, what did you not tell me in that question or statement that you made? Pretty much of a statement, I think.
Well, I was asking for the response.
No, you didn't say what the judge said, though. The judge said, but you can leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can continue to be in place. That's all we need. But why didn't you put that as part of your statement? Because the same judge ruled exactly as you said, except the judge said that you could leave the 300 people that you already have in place. They can stay, they can remain, they can do what they have to do. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Very much. It's a very important day and an important announcement with great friends of mine. I think I can say this group is every one of them. I rate a 10. I can't always say that, even if they're Republicans, and these are Republicans, great Republicans. I want to thank you all for being here for this important announcement, 7 years in the making. As you know, this has been going on for a long period of time, and I am thrilled to report that the U.S. Space Command headquarters will move to the beautiful locale of a place called Huntsville, Alabama, forever to be known from this point forward as Rocket City. Okay, so Huntsville, Alabama, we love Alabama. I only won it by about 47 points. I don't think that influenced my decision, though, right? That didn't, right? But we had a lot of competition for this, and Alabama's getting it, Huntsville in particular. So congratulations, everybody. Katie, congratulations. This will result in more than 30,000 Alabama jobs, and probably much more than that, and hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, and that's billions, because it can't be millions, it's billions and billions of dollars. Most importantly, this decision will help America defend and dominate the high frontier, as they call it. I want to thank Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's doing a fantastic job. And Secretary of the Air Force, Troy Mink. Troy, thank you very much. Great job you're doing, Troy. This is such a big deal. This is one that everybody wanted to know. What are you doing? I also want to thank Senators Katie Britt, and I want to
Can you please just hear me out? No, all work management platforms are the same. Monday.com is the one you'll actually love to use. It lets you set up your workflows yourself. No admin, no long approval process. You're in charge. I don't have time to set up workflows. Monday also has a ton of templates you can choose from, so you can be up and running in no time. Sounds too good to be true. You know that llamas are biologically incapable of lying. You know what? I'm ready to fall in love again. Thanks. Talking Llama. Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
Tommy, Auburn won, is right. They did. So you're happy. Tommy's been a great senator, as you know, and a fantastic guy all around. He was also a tremendous coach. House Armed Services Committee Chair Mike Rogers. Thank you, Mike. Where's Mike? Mike, thank you very much. Doing great, Mike. Representatives Barry Moore, all great friends. Robert Adderholt, Gary Palmer, and Dale Strong. Thank you all very much, fellas. Appreciate it. In my first term, I created a thing called Space Force. So important. You know, we were losing the race in space very badly to China and to Russia, and now we're far and away #1 in space, and